Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome to another episode of my podcast. Today's episode is entitled Good Company. And as usual, I'll start this episode off with the quote: "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." And this is a quote by Winston Churchill. This episode is nothing new. It's something that we've discussed in the past. Ever since I've been reaching, episode 100, or I've reached episode 100, I've kind of been tying, what we've been discussing, what we've been talking about into life. I've been tying it into how I feel, giving kind of practical applications of real life situations of where it applies. And boy, I've had a ton of them lately. It seems that since I've been creating this podcast and I've been discussing, certain situations, perspectives, and mindsets with you guys, like, it's been drawing more attention to things that have been happening in my life, and I've been learning more lessons from common everyday situations. It's really been eye-opening, the stuff that I've been going through, especially since I've been on this path of research and self-development, and it's only going to get better. I'm looking forward to this future journey and all the lessons I have to learn. And hopefully I will not have to repeat too many tests too many times, because keeping it real honest, keeping it hot, like, I have had to repeat some tests. I'm still repeating a few of them, but life is about traveling towards perfection, trying to reach that ultimate perfection, but you're never going to get there. And perfection is definitely something that you define. It's not something that you let the world define for you. So my perfection may not be somebody else's definition of perfection. And it's all about perspective, because perspective drives reality. Usually we may experience the lesson in a way that the same way or in a different way. I'm sorry, I worded it weird, so it got me kind of tongue twisted. We've talked about the lessons, how you experience lessons over and over again until you pass the test. And in life, usually you can experience the lessons the same way or a different way. And it just depends. It just depends what life throws at you. And it depends on how you react and how you, basically make it through the situation. You can either go repeat it over and over and over again, or you might pass it in that form and then have to move over to another form. But the lesson is the same. It just takes a different form. Why this happens, I do not know. I just know that there's things that we got to learn in life, and if we set goals to be better people, that we have to turn into a different person to reach that goal. We can't be a better person with how we're currently built and where we currently are. We have to change and transform and go through some things in order to become what we need to be to achieve what we want to achieve. So life throwing these lessons at us are just one way of helping us to be in alignment with the thoughts that we have and the goals that we have for the life. Here recently, one of my major battles has been managing energy and God, I'm so tongue twisted. I don't know why. I just woke up. It's been a crazy week at work. Kind of feeling a little off today, but it's all good. We're going to keep it rolling. I'm tongue twisted, but it's all good. I'm here. We're going to do this. Here recently, my battle has been managing my energy in otherwise negative situations, otherwise staying grounded. So I let things eat me up. Like, I'm my own worst enemy at times. Sometimes I take certain situations and I make them worse than they have to be. I hold on to things a lot of times sometimes, and I'm really analytical. So if I don't know, like, details and the fine points of things, like, I really kind of get bent out of shape. Especially if I'm in a negative situation or a situation other than what I would perceive as positive, things tend to get, a little bit thrown off. I feel that, and I've learned that being honest with myself and upfront about my situation has been really helpful in my self-growth. I call myself out regularly, especially on the things that I need to improve and self-develop. I'm not perfect at all, but I'm definitely striving towards that goal of perfection, and I think that's what matters. For me, perfection is being able to keep my ego in check, being able to control my perspectives in life, and having a positive internal environment, meaning controlling my self-talk, the thoughts that I have, my perception of situations, controlling how, I look at things and feel about them internally, because nobody else makes you feel any certain type of way. It's a choice. So if you feel angry, you have decided that something someone else has done, or something that has happened currently, is something you don't like, or it makes you feel some type of way. It might go against your ego, and now you have put a bad perception on that. I'm a firm believer that things are not good or bad, they just are, and that our perspective makes things good or bad. So one of the things, those are the three or four things that I'm trying to keep under control, that I would see as helping me to reach perfection. Keeping my ego in check, controlling my self-talk and my internal environment, being the master of my subconscious, my self-talk and my internal environment, and controlling my energy. How I feel, being neutral, being grounded no matter what the situation is. And this was just another situation that kind of brought that aspect, the energy aspect, to the realization, to the forefront of my mind that day. Again, others don't have control of you or your situation, your energy, your emotions, your feelings, what you do. Ultimately, it all comes down to choice. We make the choice. A lot of people don't like to realize that. A lot of people don't like to say that. A lot of people don't like to be honest. We like to blame our situations, our circumstances, or other people. But when it really comes down to it, when it really boils down to it, it's us. The one thing that I say all the time is the one constant in every situation is going to be you. Every situation that you face, whether you have put a good or a bad perspective on it, whether it's early in life, late in life, whether it's for a long period of time or a short period of time, every situation that we face, we're going to be the constant in it. We're always going to be present because it's our situation, it's our life. So from that perspective, it would be best if we work on the one thing that's always going to be present, and the one thing that we can control in every situation. Depending on the situation, there will be a number of variables, and we won't be able to control all of those variables. We may not even be able to control a lot of them, but the one thing that we can control is ourself. In every situation, we can determine a perspective. We can choose to get mad. We can choose not to be mad. We can choose to let things bother us or get us bent out of shape. We can choose to just go with the blows, and we can choose to have a productive day. It all boils down to choice, and we hold that power. We reserve that power to choose, no matter what our outside circumstances or situations are. We reserve that internal decision, that internal fortitude to choose not to succumb to the emotions and the feelings that we would otherwise feel if we didn't have control of ourselves and our internal environment. Which again is what I see as reaching perfection, is being able to have control of yourself, your subconscious self, your conscious self, your ego, your energy, everything that is you. You have control over that. My experiences haven't all been bad. Again, it's a matter of perspective. Bad is me putting a negative connotation on something that may or may not have happened in my life. I've had a lot of good experiences. What we're going to talk about later in this podcast was a great experience. It was something that I went through, and because I've been creating this podcast and creating this content, it's been causing me again to look deeper at my life, to look deeper at the situations, surroundings I go through, and I really learned an important lesson from it. Like, it really brought my attention to an aspect of my life, an aspect of my situation that I really feel like I benefited from, and that also maybe you could benefit from as well. It's just a matter of perspective, and a matter of being aware, being conscious, being present, being alert, being alive. I feel like a lot of times we just walk through life and stuff happens to us, and we just take it as it comes, but we really don't learn anything. Is more of kind of like a survival mode, like adapt and overcome. Like, if something happens, I'm just gonna adapt to it and then keep it pushing, which is a good way to live. But what can you learn from the situation? You know, adapting to it so you can get through it is one thing, but adapting to it, getting through it, and learning from it so that next time you get into that situation, maybe you could choose a smarter course of action, and maybe you can make the duration of the test shorter. So I'm really big on changing acquisition into application. So acquisition is kind of like what we did in the beginning of the podcast, the first 100 episodes, where we're obtaining information, talking about books, talking about, you know, hey, this is kind of the mindset you want to be moving towards, talking about, you know, how we have choice, and how important discipline is and stuff like that. Like just those conversations we were having in the beginning where we were talking about just vast amounts of knowledge, like acquiring things. And in the next 100 podcast episodes, and probably further on down the road, as far as I can see right now, I want to start shifting to application, which is why I've been talking about like how it applies in my life, and subtle situations where I've seen big lessons or been able to derive big meaning from. And this podcast and the other, I think 6 or 7 podcasts that I've made past 100 are I don't know what they're in line with that thought process, basically. Like I want to transition from acquisition to application. And I know that I may say these things to make it seem easy, that, you know, Eric Thomas may say these things to make it easy. You know, Tony Robbins may say these things to make them sound easy. But at the end of the day, you know, acquisition, I feel, is the hardest part. Because you got to think about it. I'm 30 years old. It's been at least 25 years, you know, until I started doing this deep dive, this research, this change, this path to self-development. So 25 years, I've been living my life in what I thought was the right way. You know, and I've been building habits. I created a foundation. Like, I've been living life in what I thought was the right way. So 30 years I've spent building habit on top of habit on top of habit on top of habit. Now at 25, I'm seeing that, you know, maybe the way I live life wasn't bad, but there's a better way to do it. So now I'm trying to change, excuse me. Now I'm trying to change the path that I'm taking, my mindset, and my focus in this journey. And I have to combat 30 years, 25 years of bad habits. So it's difficult. You know, the application part can be difficult because I'm just now getting to the point where I'm starting to battle all of this stuff. And this stuff is ingrained. This stuff is deep rooted in my personality and who I am. So fighting it is a daily battle. You know, it's waking up and going to war against yourself, you know, every day. So it's definitely not easy, at least from the perspective I've seen it and I'm taking. And it's a journey, and it's a wild journey. But I mean, there's a lesson in it all. There's beauty in the struggle, and you know, I'm here for it. I'm ready for more. I recently attended a friend of mine's daughter's birthday party, and although I was the only non-family member present, the environment was very welcoming. So we all know how kids' parties are: high energy, you know, basically a celebration of life. Everybody there is happy, you know. It was real nice, and it brought me back to when I was a kid. My family used to have huge gatherings, you know, birthday parties, dinners for different holidays, just cookouts sometimes. But we've kind of strayed away from that. You know, people have grown up, people have moved apart, you know, life has happened. So we haven't really been able to have gatherings in that function or in that manner in some years, even before COVID. So being in that type of environment, you know, it was nice. It was refreshing, especially after being on lockdown from COVID and stuff like that. It was nice to just be around people with positive energy and, you know, just a festive environment. People happy to be alive, happy to be out, happy to be around each other, and just it was just a great feeling. I know nobody likes to be tied up or forced to stay in the house or anything like that, but it was nice to get out. It was super nice to get out. The funny thing was, the reason why I'm talking so much about the energy and how it felt so great to be there is because there was an incident that occurred, before I was going to the party, and my perspective of what had transpired was negative. So I felt that what had transpired was negative, and it threw me in a bad mood. I had an attitude. I just, stuff happens. You know how life is. Every day can't be perfect. Every day can't be sunny. So I had a bad attitude. I was in my feelings. I was a little bit cranky. But going to this party, shifted my perspective 180 degrees. And I was literally upset until I came to the door of this party. And then by the time I entered into the door of this party, my mindset changed, the energy changed. It felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder. Everything became cool. Like it wasn't an issue. And like by the time I left the party, I was in a totally different mindset, different place, different space. It was nice. It was refreshing. And then I got to thinking, as I normally do, because of this podcast and what I've been going through in life. What lesson can I pull from this? That didn't happen for nothing. That didn't happen for no reason. What lesson can I pull from that? And I was just looking at the situation, piece by piece, breaking it down over the course of the whole day. And what I came up with is it took just a change of setting for me to have a change in my energy and attitude. And while it was a physical change, I physically went from one place to another, and the environment helped for me to create a positive atmosphere within myself. Why can't I do that mentally? I was asking myself, because we have choice, and our mind is not a prison. We can go wherever we want to go mentally, like even though the body may be locked up or disabled or sick, the mind, as long as it's healthy and as well, you can go anywhere you want to be. You can be free. And I just kept asking myself, like, if it was so simple for me to do physically, which I definitely am an advocate for, if you're going through something negative or you're around negative people or life is just weighing you down, a change of scenery, a change of space will definitely help you to get into a better attitude, a better internal atmosphere. So I'm not knocking that. I'm not saying that, it was bad that it didn't happen or that happened. I'm very grateful that it happened. But I'm just, questioning myself and reflecting on myself, again, relying on outside sources. I'm relying on the atmosphere to change in order for my attitude to change. So I stepped back and I was like, why can't I just do this mentally? I had the choice of how I felt. I chose to have a bad perspective of what happened, of what transpired. So why couldn't I just change my mental scenery and change my internal situation to something that reflected a more positive atmosphere, a more happy place, or a positive energy place that I could be? Because normally I don't like to be happy. I don't like to be in my feelings. I don't like to be stressed out. I don't like to be sad. I like to be happy, just chilling, joking around, hanging out with the guys, like having a good time, hanging out with family, like anybody. I'm big on hanging out and being around family and stuff like that. And I'm not big on feeling, what I would perceive as negative or negative emotions. But that's the dichotomy of life. You can't have one without the other. So it's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. You're going to have sunny days. You're going to have rainy days. Some days you're going to have days with the overcast where it doesn't rain. But my goal, again, trying to work towards my perfection, is to be able to be an island in the storm. Meaning that no matter what is going on around me, ships are getting tossed, trees are getting blown down and stuff like that, I'm still standing resolute. I'm still standing firm, confident, unbothered, centered, present. I'm trying to be all of that, and that takes time. That's difficult. But this situation in my life that I went through here recently, I believe it was Sunday, it was just really eye-opening. Like, there's a lesson in it all. And I mean, if you just open your eyes and look around, you'll be able to see, it's a lot of stuff passes us by because we're not paying attention. And we just need to be present, need to be grounded. We need to be here for the journey. There's beauty in the struggle, and we need to be in love with the process. Just like weightlifters, they're building muscle. You don't just go into the gym Monday and you're built ready for a physique competition Tuesday. You got to be in love with the process. You got to be in love with eating the right food. You got to be in love with doing the right workouts. You got to be in love with having discipline throughout the day to not eat bad stuff and to not put yourself in situations that will compromise the goals that you're trying to obtain. Is no different in life. You got to be in love with the process. Change is not going to happen overnight. Again, however old you are, you've been using that many years to solidify a way of thinking that may not have been conducive to the goal that you're trying to achieve. So I know another issue that I have is I'm trying to make changes. I'm not seeing it come fast enough. So now I'm having an issue with that. Like, all this information, why don't you just change? But again, the reality of the situation is I spent 25, 30 years reinforcing behaviors. So it's going to take me some time to change these behaviors because I'm going to have to actively be aware that I'm behaving a certain type of way, a way I don't want to behave. And then I have to make a proactive attempt to change that behavior, to change that mindset, to change my internal situation. This is yet again just another example of how life has been teaching me lessons, how there's been, big lessons in subtle situations. I'm thankful for this lesson. I'm thankful for the journey. I'm enjoying the journey. I'm definitely seeing the beauty in the struggle, and I'm trying day by day to fall in love with the process and just be here for it, be present, be grounded, and ready for this lesson and the next one that may come. Thanks again for listening to my podcast. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a little late. Again, work has been crazy. I'm kind of feeling a little out of it. I had a long night last night. I've kind of been thrown off as far as my schedule and stuff like that. Not making excuses, just throwing it out there saying I'm positive. Not positive. I am positive. I'm very positive, and that's what I'm trying to attempt. I'm trying to attempt that to be my neutral, or where I'm my center point, my grounded point. But I'm just putting that all out there to say apologies. I know I released my podcast Monday and Friday. I was sticking to it for 100 episodes, and I plan on continuing to stick to it. But life does happen. Again, we're not perfect, and sometimes things don't go as planned. So thank you for tuning into my episode. I know I was a little bit off today, but it's all good. The lesson is important nonetheless, and I hope that you're able to get something out of this lesson. Again, thank you, and have a great day.